Is the Wuthering Waves PlayStation release coming sooner than we think? Well, not exactly, but let me explain. So just last week, I put out a video talking about Wuthering Waves and the upcoming China Joy Expo, and how I thought that they would announce the PlayStation release at that very expo. But what I didn't expect was that they would announce the development of the PlayStation version before the expo came around, so that people at the expo would actually get the first look at the PlayStation build for Wuthering Waves. So it's unfortunate that my predictions from the last video were a little bit off, but it makes a little bit more sense in hindsight because the announcement then brought a lot of eyes and attention to anything new that's happening for Wuthering Waves, which was perfect for when the expo was right around the corner. So while they didn't quite announce the exact same things I expected them to announce, we got our very first look at the PlayStation build for Wuthering Waves, which we will be talking about in this video. But before we begin, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We're almost at 250 subs, guys. Anyways, without further ado, let's get on with the video. The first look at the PlayStation build came from a recording that's been circulating Reddit and other social medias of the crownless hologram fight played through the PlayStation. In the left corner, we can see the different game details like the FPS, the location of the characters' coordinates, and in the bottom right, we see the controller UI. They've got pretty much all the things we would expect from the game. The attack skill buttons, the jump button, L1 I assume opens up the tool menu, but I don't think their characters were equipped with echoes because the circle icon was empty. At first glance, it looks smooth. It was hard to notice any egregious frame drops and graphical glitches from the recording, even though there was a lot of visual effects going on during the fight. But obviously, this is only a 1-minute clip and only showing one part of the entire game experience. Personally, I don't know how much was able to be showcased at the China Joy event, but hopefully there'll be more footage coming out soon that's stress testing the PS5 performance in the overworld combat, the exploration instances, the smoothness of navigating different menus and UI components, hopefully though. Now I did say I didn't notice any egregious frame drops, but there is some caveats to my statement there. The first thing is that the recording is not directly from the game, meaning it's pretty hard to tell what settings the game is running on. It could be low settings, performance mode, it could be advanced settings, we don't know. From a distance, the texture of the floor doesn't look incredibly crisp, but it might just be my eyes, so it may be some medium settings that they're working with, but obviously it's just from my point of view, I cannot be certain. The other caveat is that if we pay close attention to the frame rate in the bottom left, normally the game is running at 60 FPS, but there are instances throughout the entire clip that the frame rate fluctuates a lot. Even in moments without crazy visual effects, the frame rate can drop down to 33 FPS, and the lowest I was able to make out was 19 FPS. This is obviously, like I said, dependent on the performance settings of the game and the kind of monitor that the PS5 is running with, but this at least tells us a couple important things. Firstly, the frame rate is not stable enough to hit a consistent 50 to 60 FPS on certain settings, which could really affect performance and player experience in certain gameplay situations. For example, I would personally hate it if the frame rate dropped down to 19 FPS if I'm trying to clutch out a hologram fight or snag away that 3-star tower reversity clear. I don't doubt that optimizing the frame rate is a top priority for Crow Games right now, but based on this footage and how it's performing, people's reaction that they only just started working on a PS5 port were pretty overblown. When they announced the PS5 development earlier in the week, people were kind of skeptical, thinking that, oh, they only just started working on the PS5 port, we're not gonna get until next year. But clearly from the footage, it's pretty much there, but they just need to optimize the frame rate and performance issues. If this kind of performance can translate to the other parts of the gameplay, then this looks to be about more than halfway into development. Hopefully this means that we could expect more news on the PS5 port as we approach the half-year anniversary. The second important thing is that it seems like the game is still capped at 60 FPS, and Kuro hasn't been able to fully implement the 120 FPS feature from their closed beta test just yet. Now, like I said, obviously this may be because they're using a monitor that can only support up to 60 FPS, but seeing as how there hasn't been any explicit news or announcements from the China Joy event that announced the 120 FPS feature, we can only speculate on our part that it's still something that Kuro is trying to work on behind the scenes. All in all though, this footage and all the things coming out of the China Joy Expo is good news for Wuthering Waves, because a PlayStation port will bring in a lot of that PlayStation audience, as well as that subsection of the Wuthering Waves player base that don't have amazing phones or access to high-end PCs that can support Wuthering Waves, without obviously turning their computers or their phones into absolute airplane engines. There's definitely a portion of the player base that want to get into the game more, challenge that higher-end tower or hologram content, but are being held back by their current devices. The question is, will Wuthering Waves continue to make more announcements about their PlayStation release, like cross-save or cross-play features? We don't know. In any case, we'll have to wait and see if the rest of the China Joy event has any more announcements for Wuthering Waves. If so, we'll be right back here to talk about them, what they mean for the PlayStation release. I play on PC, but I can empathize with people that are running into performance issues issues but want to experience the game at a higher quality level, which the PlayStation release will perfectly fit for them. And I'm sure Crow Games knows this. It's only a matter of time until they release that PlayStation port, but hopefully they don't drag it too long to where they lose the interest of that section of the player base. And that's going to do it for this video. There was a lot to cover here, but I hope you enjoyed what I had to say about it. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this PlayStation reveal and when you think the PlayStation 5 version might release. Consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!